Good morning. I'm Pat Harris, and I'm your worship coordinator. And today our speaker is Erin Julian. And most of you know Erin because she often comes to our service and she's officially a member, which is just great. I just want to tell you a little bit about Erin. She was raised in Rochester, so she's a local person. She works in marketing in a investment firm. And when she's not working or writing, she spends her time volunteering for teen empowerment. She wrote and performed a one-woman show at the Rochester Fringe Festival called You Are No Match for Me. And I can honestly say we're no match for her. She's also the executive director of Listen to Your Mother, Rochester, an exciting kind of thing. Now I want to turn it over to Lynn Overgard to give us an announcement about our pledge.
So we are well on our way to completing the pledge drive for this year. We have, as you can see, we are missing 3/4 of a petal, which is about $6,000. Whoops, I'm upside down, whatever. And so we have gotten $59,060 out of the $65,000 we're looking for. And we're hoping to complete the pledge drive at the end of March, so there's not very many days left. And if you have not made your pledge and still would like to, you can do it in a number of ways. You can email Pat Mells at, her email is patmelschurch@frontier.com. You probably got an email from her at some point about the pledge drive that has that email on it. You can go to the UUCC website, or you can mail your pledge to 3024 Cooley Road. And we're really hoping to be done very shortly. We want to thank everybody who has already pledged. We are doing really well, and it's really showing how much this church means to everybody. And so if you're a slight procrastinator, please go ahead and send in your pledge, and then we can finish this up and be ready to do what follows for planning for next year. Thank you very much.
I want to come back to me because I want to make an announcement about that we are committed to being a green sanctuary. And as such, we partner with Eric and Jenny, who are farmers at the Felonais Family Farm. And they offer an organic community-supported agricultural distribution weekly, which they distribute at our church porch. And I just wanted to remind you that you can invite friends, neighbors, and family to join, as well as joining yourself. And there was a link sent out in our address that lets you sign up for that service, or you can go to our website and find the information. Now it is time for us to go to our worship.
please join with me in our chalice lighting words. If you have a chalice or a candle handy, I invite you to take it out this time and light it as well. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Good morning. Like many of you, I have been at a loss for words when I see the racial injustices that continue to play out in the media and in our communities. When we see hurt, we feel hurt. And if I'm being honest, I have also seen injustices and not taken action. I've also been on the receiving end of injustice and did not stand up for myself. I have seen hurt and I've been hurt. In the last year, I started to explore my own biases, and I also started to abide deeply in the work of learning and unlearning. It is hard work, and none of this is easy. We don't want to see our neighbors hurting, and we don't want to be the ones creating hurt. So we dig in and we get to work. We protest, we vote, we volunteer, we write letters, we speak up, and we listen. And I think that's why we come to church. We know that the real work begins with us, that a spiritual community, we can lean into our Unitarian Universalist principles and use them to guide us. Using our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person speaks to this work. So let's get to work together. If you could join me now in our opening hymn, let's raise our voices and sing, "Come, come, whoever you are." So now is our story, and I want to share with you this beautiful book, Black is a Rainbow Color. What I loved about this book is that the author explains that she wrote it for her daughter, who said, "Mom, you said we're Black, but I'm brown." And she took this as an opportunity to write this beautiful story to explain that Black is not just a color, but a culture. So I'm excited to share it with you now. Red is a rainbow color. Green sits next to blue. Yellow, orange, violet, indigo. They are rainbow colors too. But my color is Black. There's no black in rainbows. Black is a crayon tangled in a box. Black is a feather on white winter snow. Black is the dirt where sunflowers grow. My color is Black. Black are the braids in my best friend's hair. Black are the bottoms of summertime feet. Black are the soft circles that spin down the street. My color is black. Black is a rhythm. Black is the blues. Black is sidewalking in spit-shined shoes. Black is the robe on Thurgood's back. Black are the trains on railroad tracks. Black are the eyes on salted peas. Blacks are the shadows of old magnolia trees. Black is molasses from tall sugar cane. Black is soft singing. Hush now, don't explain. Black is the skillet for bread to fry. Black are dreams and raisins left out in the sun to die. Black is the color of ink staining page. Black is the mask that shelters his rage. Black are the birds in cages that sing. Black is a color. Black is a culture. Black is history. Black is family. Black is memory. Black is community. Black is love that lives inside me. My color is black. Black are the stories bearing witness to prayer. Black is the faith in a freedom not seen. Black was the man who gave the world his dream. Black is a color. Black is a culture. Black is the heart of a candle and flame. Black is the power of a movement in pain. Black are the branches that carry my name. Weaving, wrapping, lifting, laughing, hoping, grasping, quiet, strong. Our color is black. You see, there is no black in rainbows, no black in green or blue, but in my box of crayons, black is a rainbow too. There ends our reading.
Thank you, Erin, for that lovely story that you shared with us. Now it's time for us to share our joys and sorrows. We hold one another in our hearts in celebration of our joys and in consideration of our pain. Please share your joys and sorrows in the chat box in Zoom, or you can share them in the comments section if you want on YouTube. Know that whatever is in your heart today, we are with you. In our joys and sorrows, we have again shared some sorrows surrounding COVID. We also have a request for thinking about a person who has just undergone surgery and is having some difficulties, and hopefully they'll go away. We have some joys to share. Several joys on a great story that was shared. That graduate school is finally paid off, that a garden fence is being built. All of our joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts and are unspoken are also included in our time of sharing. Now it is time for our offering. You know that we join together in our offering as a spiritual practice to support our congregation with our generosity. And we heard about our generosity this morning. If you would like to give to this morning's offering, you can do so either of two ways. You can go on to the website for UUCC, or you can mail the check to the address. Both of those pieces of information will appear in the chat shortly. Note, please, on your gift, if it's for a pledge or if it's for this Sunday's offering, because if it's for this Sunday's offering, we will share a quarter of our monthly offering with this month's group. And this month's group is the National Women's Hall of Fame. Now we have a message from Kevin, who is going to share with you a moment that hopefully will inspire you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin. That's a strange graphic behind me. I know I got propellers coming out of my ears and a mini me sitting on the top of my head. But I was asked to give a message on the canvassing and to highlight the reasons why I came to UUCC to begin with and why I stay. I started coming around 2013. I had been a part of a UU church in Rutland, Vermont prior to that. And I first got involved in UU because I just wasn't finding that Christianity really offered me what I was looking for. It was too exclusive. And I thought that what I saw in UU was something that was more inclusive, more community related, and something that allowed me to spirituality. I remember reading on a UU website, here's a quote from the website: Universalists believe God is too good to damn people, and Unitarians believe people are too good to be damned by God. That really was significant for me. And a pamphlet I picked up at UUCC, it said, religious authority lies not in a book or institution, but in ourselves. And I think that's what, through history and throughout the world, our greatest spiritual and religious leaders have always said, always emphasized. Well, I made a commitment to UUCC with time and money and effort. And I do that mainly because of the education that I'm getting, because all of you are leaders for me. I get so much out of UUCC. And the people, the quality of everyone who's at UUCC and affiliated with UUCC. So I'll keep coming around. I'll keep doing what I can to support UUCC. I'll keep enjoying the message that I hear every Sunday. I'll keep enjoying the education that I receive from all of you. And I'll keep having a good time with so many of the UUC members that I've grown close to. Thanks.
I invite you now to join me in a time of meditation, followed by shared silence. Ground yourself however best you can. Settle in your seat. Take a deep, cleansing breath. Let us inhale and now exhale together. I saw the statue swing low at the Memorial Art Gallery. It's a small replica of the legacy of Harriet Tubman. The full statue is in Harlem, where you can feel the enormity of who she was. She stands where the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s and 30s revived African American culture in New York City. She now sits above the railroad underground at Frederick Douglass Boulevard. Her skirt reveals faces, keys, and the soles of shoes, symbolizing the few possessions that were carried by those that were led by Harriet on the Freedom Trail. Her petticoat peeks out, resembling a train's cowcatcher, pushing away obstacles. Behind her are roots, as she uprooted slavery while uprooting the homes and families of those who were enslaved. Her power stands in a traffic circle in Harlem. Her power can also be found in these words from Eloise Greenfield. Harriet Tubman didn't take no stuff, wasn't scared of nothing either. Didn't come in this world to be no slave, and wasn't going to stay one either. Farewell, she sang to her friends one night, and she was mighty sad to leave them. But she ran away that dark, hot night, ran looking for her freedom. She ran to the woods, and she ran through the woods with the slave catchers right behind her. And she kept going on till she got to the north, where those mean men could not find her. 19 times she went back south to get 300 others. She ran for her freedom 19 times to save Black sisters and brothers. Harriet Tubman didn't take no stuff, wasn't scared of nothing either. Didn't come in this world to be no slave, and didn't stay one either. And didn't stay one either. I learned about Harriet Tubman in school. I learned about the Emancipation Proclamation that became effective on January 1, 1863. That on the first day of January in the year of our Lord, 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people thereof shall then be rebellion against the United States, shall be then henceforward and forever free. I did, however, not learn about Juneteenth. Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, originated in Galveston, Texas, nearly 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Since the enforcement of freeing the enslaved relied on Union troops, and Texas was the most remote state from the Union, the process was slow and inconsistent. I learned about the Roaring Twenties, the great stock market crash of October 25th, 1929, and the Great Depression that followed. I did not learn about Black Wall Street, that in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was then home to the wealthiest Black community in the United States, giving it the name Black Wall Street. However, on May 31st and June 1 of that year, after allegations and an arrest had been made that a 19-year-old man, Black man, had attacked a 17-year-old white woman, there was a great division and anger. And as racial tensions grew, the Black community was attacked. Their neighborhood was burned and looted, and nearly 10,000 Black people were left homeless. Why isn't our history shared from all sides? Why do we have such a singular and in many cases a whitewashed view of history? It was in reading An Indigenous People's History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz in the fall as part of the UUA Common Read and the book club that was offered here at UUCC that my eyes were wide open to how insensitive and inaccurate the historical accounts of our country are written in history books, especially the books that I read throughout school. The author shares this: if disease could have done the job, it is not clear why the European colonizers in America found it necessary to carry out unrelenting wars against indigenous communities in order to gain every inch of land they took from them. Nearly 300 years of colonial warfare, followed by continued wars waged by the independent republics of the hemisphere. Whatever disagreement may exist about the size of pre-colonial indigenous populations, no one doubts that a rapid demographic decline occurred in the 16th and 17th centuries. Its timing from region to region depending on when conquest and colonization began. Nearly all the population areas of the Americas were reduced by 90% following the onset of colonizing projects, decreasing targeted indigenous populations of Americas from 100 million to 10 million. Commonly referred to as the most extreme demographic disaster framed as natural in human history, it was rarely called genocide until the rise of indigenous movements in the mid-20th century forged questions. This was not the version I learned in history class. I left that book club fired up and knew I needed to do more. I had the perfect opportunity. my company was looking for employees to work together to help build diversity, equity, and inclusion within our company. They wanted to form a team. It was after the death of George Floyd and too many others that my company recognized that they had work to do internally to create a more diverse culture. I knew that in this work, I would have a chance to share what I had learned and to learn that much more. I raised my hand and I was thrilled to be added to that team. Our first assignment was to read Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. As the title suggests, the author explains that in our country, we have a caste system. At first blush, like me, you might say a caste system like in India? No way. But when we look at the history of our country, it's hard not to see it. She explains that the word caste did not even originate in India. It's actually a Portuguese word, casta, for race or breed. The Portuguese, among the earliest traders in South Asia, used it to describe their observations of the Hindu divisions, a word that was created by a culture that later created America, she adds. Isabel Wilkerson highlights 3 caste systems in the world: India, Nazi Germany, and the United States. She writes, searching the histories of all 3 hierarchies and poring over a wealth of studies on caste across many disciplines, I began to compile the parallels in a more systemic way and identified the essential shared characteristics of these hierarchies, what I call the 8 pillars of caste, traits disturbingly present in all of them. Learning about Nazi Germany in school, I could understand the connection to the caste system. It was used to discriminate and persecute Jews. In her research, Isabel Wilkerson also found that Nazis traveled to the United States to study Jim Crow laws as they managed to subordinate and subjugate the African American population. I would like to take a brief moment to also acknowledge that yesterday was the beginning of Passover. Our Jewish brothers and sisters are commemorating the Hebrews' liberation from slavery in Egypt. This is another connection to the caste system and a parallel to slavery, showing that those who have been marginalized often stay marginalized. After abiding deeply in this book and in this learning, I kept coming back to the same section of the book. It struck me the most. The author shares a conversation that she had. A few years ago, a Nigerian-born playwright came to a talk that I gave at the British Library in London. She was intrigued by the lecture, the idea that 6 million African Americans had had to seek political asylum when the borders of their own country during the Great Migration, a history that she had not known of. She talked with me afterward and said something that I have never forgotten, that startled me in its simplicity. You know, there are no Black people in Africa, she said. Most Americans, weaned on the myth of drawable lines between human beings, have to sit with that statement. It sounds nonsensical to our ears. Of course, there are Black people in Africa. There's a whole continent of Black people in Africa. How could anyone not see that? Africans are not Black, she said. They're Igbo and Yatuba, you, Akan, Nadabili. They are not Black. They are just themselves. They are humans on the land. That is how they see themselves, and that is who they are. What we take as gospel in American culture is alien to them, she said. They don't become Black until they go to America or come to the UK, she said. It is then that they become Black. It was in the making of the New World that Europeans became white, Africans black, and everyone else yellow, red, or brown. It was in the making of the New World that humans were set apart on the basis of what they looked like, identified solely in contrast to one another, and ranked to a form of caste based on a new concept called race. It was in the process of ranking that we were all cast into assigned roles to meet the needs of a larger production. None of us are ourselves. I keep coming back to this. Our country is rooted in white supremacy. None of us can dismantle white supremacy. None of us can undo the caste system that has shaped the lives of our Black community. However, we can make a difference. We can protest, we can vote, we can volunteer, we can write letters, we can speak up, we can rewrite history curriculum, and we can listen. The work starts with us uncovering our biases and understanding the caste construct is just a start. I will leave you with these words from Cleo Wade because I just can't articulate any better than she did. The world will say to you, we need to end racism. Start by healing it in your own family. The world will say to you, we need to speak to bias and bigotry. Start by having the first conversation at our own kitchen table. The world will say to you, there's too much hate. Devote yourself to love. Love yourself so much that you can love others without barriers and judgment. Let this be our work. May it be so. I wish to leave you with these words from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Teach her about difference, make difference ordinary, make difference normal. Teach her not to attach value to difference. And the reason for this is not to be fair or to be nice, but merely to be human and practical. Because difference is the reality of our world. And by teaching her about difference, you are equipping her to survive in a diverse world. She must know and understand that people walk different paths in the world, and that as long as those paths do not harm others, they are valid paths that she must respect. Teach her that we do not know, we cannot know everything about life. Both religion and science have space for the things we do not know, and it is enough to make peace with that. Teach her never to universalize her own standards or experiences. Teach her that her standards are for her alone and not for other people. This is the only necessary form of humility, the realization that difference is normal. I invite you now to join us in our closing hymn, Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Every voice and sing, killer than heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the darkness has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stormy the road we trod, bitter the tasting rod, down in the days when hope one born had God. And when the steady beat have not our weary feet, come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that tears has been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past, now till we stand at rest, where the white gleam of our bright stars cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Lord has brought us thus far on the way. Now who has lied thy way? Let us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Bless our feet, stray from the places of God where we had been. Bless our hearts to run through the line of the world that thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our native land.
We will now extinguish our chalices by sharing these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.